สวัสดีครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่ช่วงสุดท้ายนะครับซึ่งเป็น Panel Discussion นะครับผมเชื่อว่าหลายท่านคงอยากที่จะตั้งคำถามแล้วก็อาจจะสงสัยว่าองค์กรที่เขาได้รางวัล Excellence เนี่ยเขามีกลเม็ดเคล็ดลับมีกลยุทธ์อย่างไรนะครับในแต่ละเรื่องที่เขาทำจนทำให้เขาได้รับรางวัลในแต่ละเฉพาะสาขาซึ่งปีนี้เป็นปีแรกนะครับที่เรามีโอกาสในการจัดเสวนาที่เป็น Final Session โดยการที่จะเชิญตัวแทนองค์กรเนี่ยนะครับเข้ามาแลกเปลี่ยนเรียนรู้ด้วยกันและเนื่องจากว่าปีนี้นะครับ TMA เนี่ยได้ใช้เฟรมเวิร์กของทาง Boston Consulting ที่ชื่อว่า DAI เป็นโมเดลครั้งแรกในการประเมินนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นการเสวนาครั้งนี้ก็จะนำโดย Mr. Benjamin Fingerle Partner of the Boston Consulting Group Thailand แล้วก็ผู้มีเกียรติทั้ง4ท่านนะครับซึ่งประกอบไปด้วยดร.ธิดาการรุจิพัฒนกุลนะครับท่านเป็น Deputy Hospital Director ofสมิติเวชสุขุมวิท Hospital นะครับคุณพานุบุญวัฒโนภาสนะครับท่านเป็น Formal ASBU Digital Champion ของบริษัทเชฟรอนประเทศไทยสำรวจและผลิตจำกัดนะครับดร.ชาลีอัศวะธีรธรรมนะครับท่านเป็น Senior Executive Vice President แล้วก็ Chief Data Officer นะครับของธนาคารไทยพาณิชย์จำกัดมหาชนและผู้ร่วมการเสวนาท่านสุดท้ายนะครับดร.ธีรวัตรอัศวโภคีครับท่านเป็น Executive Vice President Data Innovation and Digital Solution นะครับจากธนาคารกรุงไทยจำกัดมหาชนครับ
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and let me start with a hearty congratulations to our panelists here. Congratulations to winning the Thai Digital Excellence Award this year. Thank you very much also to the panelists for agreeing to join our panel here today. The purpose of this panel discussion is to learn from our local leaders of the digital transformation about digital transformation to the benefit for everyone out there to ideally take some points away from here what to do in order to accelerate the digital transformation across Thailand, across the companies. Let me start with a relatively broad question. We have learned from the keynote speech earlier on that digital is top of mind of executives, not just all over the world, but also very much in Thailand. And we have also seen that being a leader of the digital transformation does pay off a big time. You do actually have a chance as a company to redefine what competitiveness looks like in your industry through digital. What I would like to ask you first is a question on how do you see in your industry digital making a difference? How do you see it can change the competitive landscape, and to what degree really? How much of an impact does digital have in your industry? And maybe we could start right away with you, Dr. Pink, the healthcare industry in Thailand.
Sure. But first of all, thank you for the award. We are honored. I am truly honored to be here and representing Smithfield Hospital, and big congratulations to you all too. So regarding the question, actually we were aware of the digital disruption about a couple of years ago. We know that there are 4 to 5 digital technologies that are going to change the way healthcare work. First is the advancement of the telecommunication technology. We know that that's gonna make telemedicine more accessible, and with the telemedicine, the barrier to healthcare in terms of geographical barrier, financial barrier will be lower. Eventually, healthcare can be delivered from anywhere, anytime. No need to be in the hospital, and that's gonna disrupt our business. We know that. That's why we launched Smithfield Virtual Hospital 2 years ago. And at the first year, the adoption rate of Smithfield Virtual Hospital was quite low. But with the pandemic crisis, it had accelerated the growth of the telemedicine. Another technology that will have huge impact for healthcare is AI. I believe that AI will change the way doctors and nurses practice, change the process of drug discovery, even change the flow, the whole operation flow in the hospital. So we know that healthcare disruption is happening, and we are going to be disrupted. So we have to disrupt ourselves before being disrupted.
That is very inspiring. And if I may ask a follow-up question, the first point that you mentioned, that in a way digital helps you to break down the physical constraints
Yeah.
of the hospital, and you are able to provide medical services to patients that are actually far away. Does that also mean for you, you can go beyond the borders of Thailand, or do you, in a first step, focus on your patients within Thailand that just don't need to come to the hospital anymore?
Actually, we do go beyond Thailand. For example, because of the pandemic crisis, some of the patients in Myanmar, for example, that need to be followed up with the doctor in Thailand at Sumitivet, but they couldn't fly, right? So they can use the Sumitivet Virtual Hospital as the channel to connect with the doctor and continue with the treatment.
Amazing. Very inspiring. Thank you very much for sharing that. If I think about the energy industry, it's a lot more difficult to imagine how really digital could disrupt that industry to a similar degree. Maybe, Khun Panu, you could share your thoughts a little bit and what you're observing and whether there is actually disruption happening, and if so, how this is playing out.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us here, and thanks so much again for the award. So we're honored to be here and share with you insight what we're doing in terms using digital technologies in energy industries. So when we talk about energy industries, particularly in oil and gas, so it starts from exploring, extracting, developing, and producing the product and deliver to the market. So basically, in the past, we focus a lot on delivering strong safety performance, but with current business environments, it becomes challenging. Another focus that we need to actually put effort on is managing capital. Capital efficiencies come to play. So it is and it will be and continue to be in the futures, but we cannot do it alone. We need to do something different. Digital come to play at that end. So in order to maximize benefit, we need to adopt digitals. To do so, we need to change the way we manage our business. We need to change the way we operate our asset to maximize benefit by the use of digitals. So with that, we look into a lot of opportunities. We explore options to help us lower our costs, both capital and operating cost. Just to give you a few examples, in terms of using data science, using AI technologies, machine learnings to help us explore and extract hydrocarbon at lower cost, and then using IoT technologies together with data science to help transform the way we manage our asset, moving toward predictive maintenance, help us reduce the operating costs, and last but not least, using automated process, helping us to reduce repetitive work, digitizing all those work, and allowing our people to focus more on the high value-added activities.
That is also very inspiring. You're basically turning cost into a competitive advantage by exploiting digital means to reduce across the board the cost. Do you also see opportunities in your industry on the top line, on adding revenue to your business through digital means?
Yep, definitely. So digitals play a lot on top, middle, and low, and the bottom lines, right? On the top line, so basically we can use digital technologies to actually increase the value propositions of products. So how can we actually use the same product but selling at a higher price? Or how can we actually extract better products to sell at a higher price through use of digital technologies?
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, we have learned in the keynote speech earlier today that the financial industry is leading the pack, not just in Thailand, but all over the world, digitizing at a faster pace than other industries. I would be very interested to learn from our two banks here what you think it is that drives this accelerated speed in the banks to go after digital. And I would have a follow-up question that I would like to pass over already right away as well. And that is, if the whole industry is moving so fast, how can you, if at all, still carve out a competitive advantage in the financial industry through digital? Or is it just a catch-up game among all the banks? Maybe we could start with you, Dr. Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us over here, and once again, it's an honor for us to have received the award. The way we at SCB think about making value of the digital information is that we strive to create what I call the virtuous cycle between data, usefulness, and engagement. The more data you have, the more usefulness you can become. And when you become more useful, we believe that customers naturally will become more engaged in your product, which leads to more data and so on. Now, one of the things that banks have been looked at is that we are the place to transact, and which is great. But I believe that banks can be a lot more engaging. You know, when I always use this example when somebody wants to book a trip. Let's say you plan a trip to go to Japan, for example. You start planning about it. You plan. You talk to your friends, and you start booking tickets. You make trips on what you would like to do during the trip. And finally, at the stage when you're like, okay, I'm now ready to transact. I'm gonna buy the ticket. I'm gonna book the hotel. Only then would you kind of come and contact the bank. Maybe you use the card to swipe, or maybe you do the money transfer. Just that little piece of your entire thought chain. So what the way I think about the competitive advantage is that we need to move up the customer's thought chain. We need to be useful to the customer so that they are engaged with us from the moment they start thinking about the trip. We can there are ways in which we can make ourselves useful by understanding the customer better. We can use social finance to think about who they would like to plan the trip with. We can help them plan the trips because we can use predictive model to say, this person has a high likelihood of taking this trip because it has been done every year in the past, all the way to after the trip, during the trip, the customers, we can become useful to the customers in terms of exchange rate, the travel protection, and everything. So that's the idea. That's just one illustration of how we can create the competitive advantage by moving up the thought chain and increasing the engagement and usefulness to our customers.
Understand. And I would like, before passing it on, ask a follow-up question here then as well. It does sound like you're creating a competitive advantage against your peers, the other banks, by becoming good at this, but it also sounds like you're taking on a whole lot new competitors that weren't really your competitors before, where you probably do not want to become, maybe you do, a travel company yourself, but it feels that some of the travel online services are then overlapping a little bit with what you have in your mind as well. Who do you see actually as your key competitors on this journey?
I wouldn't go so far to immediately call them competitors. It could be partnerships as well. The key idea underlying this is that we have the prediction power. We can say, hey, if you piece together everything that all the touch points that the customers have with us, we actually have pretty good certainty of who's likely to travel this summer, who's likely going to engage in such and such activities. And I believe the secondary question might be like, okay, how do we best serve the customer? We can do it ourselves, or it could be through partnership. So yes, I would not go so far to consider people as competitors just yet.
Right. Understood. Dr. To, how about your bank? How do you look at it?
So let me get into. We have something very similar, but we can approach in a little bit different way as well. Like, why do we need to be a leader? For sure, customer demand changing, expectation changing, people want something now. And then also some unexpected event like COVID can happen. So if you do not have digital mindset, you would not be surviving in this environment, something that change quickly. What would be our strategy, right? So we have to look at what is the strength of our KTB. Krung Thai is the largest government-owned commercial banking, right? So we are in the position that we have worked and helped a lot with the government. So the way that we think about how to become leader and become high in the competitive advantage would be we have to be able to build ecosystem. Like Dr. Charlie said, we need to have a good data so that we can make a good business. But to get the data, we have to have a good ecosystem that people become or belong to our system and provide a usefulness, the data that we can use to benefit both government and also hopefully Krung Thai, right? So we use that strategic advantage that we help government since the welfare card, the one that people that need assistance now can get the money transparently right to them into their card. We also help in Chim Chop Chai, right? Remember that we want to boost economic. We built the registration system for Chim Chop Chai at 1 million per night. At that time, we were learning, and we use that opportunity to learn and become leader. Now, when COVID come, we have เราไม่ทิ้งกัน that now we can register 40 million plus without any problem. Everything we learn from Chim Chop Chai, we can also use in the following project. We also have Thai Chana that help people to prevent them from COVID. A lot of data coming in from us. So those are the things that we want to use that opportunity to build ecosystem that now we have Pao Tang. A lot of things, welfare card are also on Pao Tang. Chim Chop Chai, you can have wallet on Pao Tang. Even Thai Chana, you can also do that. So we are trying to build that ecosystem in such a way that the customer, the people who come in can join this ecosystem and can benefit from it. For example, we have 7 to 10 million for mobile banking. I think Thai Panit or Kasikorn also have about 8 to 10 million mobile banking. Pao Tang, after we do all this, we have 15 million plus in the system already. And we are expanding that into the ecosystem in this one. Our goal and competitive advantage is to use this ecosystem together with the Thai government to build ecosystem for more than just what we have now. Possibly SME, like Dr. Charlie said, partnership can bring into this ecosystem and give benefit to Thai people, Thai SME, and so on.
Great.
So those are our strategy. We have more questions. I can go into detail later on.
No, very much so. And it sounds to me like you're building on the structural competitive advantage that you anyway have already as in your position as an SOE
at the same
and to
time,
amplify it.
At the same time, it's a good cause, right? We can help Thailand along the way. So that's also a win-win.
And I do believe it comes with challenges, and I'm already curious to hear about those in a bit. But before we get there, let me also ask about the healthcare industry, because we saw in the keynote speech earlier today that the healthcare industry is also doing very well in Thailand in digital terms. And as opposed to the financial industry, that is actually different from the rest of the world, especially when we look at the West, where we see the healthcare industry rather a little bit behind. What would you say, and maybe that is a natural question for you, Dr. Ping, what would you see as the reason for the Thai healthcare industry to embrace digital to this degree?
Well, I think Thailand's healthcare industry is very competitive. We are in the medical tourism business, and we have to try to attract patients from around the world. So we are in the global market, not only in Thailand. For example, Smithivet, we try to focus on investing in digital technology that help improve clinical outcome and improve patients' experience. One of the good example is our mobile application, Smithivet Plus. With this mobile application, the patients can access their health data because the application have API integration with the electronic medical record, so the patients can access their medication list, their blood investigation, even their radiology result. So everything that is important they can access it from anywhere in the world. So I think that helped a lot because 45% of our patients are international patients and half of them are flying, right? So I think that is one thing that's quite important. And also with the application, when the patients come to the hospital, they can check their queue or even make a payment through the application. I think that helped reduce the waiting time. So overall, it kind of improved the patient experience. So in summary, I think because of the nature of highly competitive of the medical tourism business, that's the main driving force for us.
Understand. And would you say that from the perspective of a medical tourist that is considering to come to Thailand and chooses a hospital, would you say that these digital services are already an expectation, or is it still something to surprise the customer with?
I don't think that they expect this kind of digital technology that help improve their experience because I think in like you said, like in other countries, in the other hospital, the hospital is in other countries. Most of them didn't start using this kind of technology yet. So I think they it's kind of a little over expectation.
Got it. A way for Thailand to manifest its status as a top destination for medical tourism.
Right.
Great. Let's shift gears a little bit. We also saw in the keynote earlier today that Thai companies in general have strong digital ambitions. They want to go from a state of, on average, digital literacy to digital leadership within only 3 years. But I believe all of us know digital transformation is not easy. I would like to ask each of you to name one key challenge or maybe better success factor that your company had to master in order to get where it is in terms of digital transformation. And maybe we just start right away with you again, Dr.
Sure.
Pink.
For me, I think one of the main challenges is to align everyone with the company's vision, especially to align the digital strategy and business strategy. I think it is really, really important that to put the vision about digital transformation into the business strategy and to keep balance in terms of investment for the future-oriented projects and the current profitable projects or business units.
Understand. And I can imagine that is actually a universal truth. The alignment of business and digital strategy applies probably to our other panelists' businesses quite a bit as well. Dr. Charlie, what would you raise as the one challenge or key success factor that your company had to master?
The key success factors actually was overcome not by myself, but by the company a couple of years in advance. As you all know, data is only as useful as how clean and comprehensive it is. So the company, so the challenge is collecting and cleaning the data around the bank. There has been various sources of data in different stages of readiness. And so it took a serious commitment from the top management to say, okay, we're going to invest in this data lake and we're going to, go diligent and collect all the data sources, clean it, put it in a format that's consumable by the analysis so that one day it will be usable. And throughout that whole period, there has to be a period where, you would have to work almost in the faith that one day this will become useful. And so I'm rather glad that our company has gone through that phase. And we are now at the phase where we can begin to make further use and extracting the value from them.
Understand. How did you do that? How did you convince your decision makers that this investment, that this leap of faith of putting effort that takes a long time and you don't know exactly when it will become useful into preparing the data for value extraction?
Actually, to be frank, I'm quite lucky. I came in where the data at the company has reached a stage where it has become quite ready for a good amount of analysis, although this is an ongoing process because you acquire new data sets every time, all the time, and you discover new sources of data. But I think it just takes a lot of commitment, somebody with a strong will, strong foresight, and say, we will just have the patience and we will do it.
Great. Dr. To, what would you answer here?
This is my opinion, not KTB. In my opinion, I think the key success would be for the leader to start with the right question to answer and understanding about the technology not as a buzzword. The key thing is a lot of people that I see is we try to start with technology. We say that, okay, we have blockchain. We want to use blockchain for something. We want big data. We want to use big data for something. We have machine learning. We want to use machine learning for something. But I think the right approach, in my opinion, would be you have to set your own question objective right first. What is the goal of this organization that you try to solve? Who do you plan to become? And then use those technology or data as enabler. So you have to understand that it is not silver bullet. It has something that it can do and something it cannot. But you have to ask the right question, set the right goal and purpose, and then along that journey, understand and use the right technology to help it. Because without the right question, you can use all the technology in the world. You're not going to be where you want because you don't know what you want.
Understand. And again, I would actually like to ask a similar follow-up question. How do you make this way of thinking happen across the company when at the same time, I assume, you have the challenge that many of the companies are facing, that the executive level has a much less of an understanding naturally of the feasibilities, of the possibilities of digital?
I think we are lucky that our leader, P.P. Yong, our CEO, and my boss, Kun Pali, also, they have vision about innovation. So they built innovation team about 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. I just joined KTB about 2 years ago as well. So we start innovation with a very small group. Now we have more than 500 people in the innovation team. The key thing about the innovation team that try to change, meaning culture or digital transformation is not just about telling from top down that, hey, you have to change. In front, they may say yes, but at the end, they will, okay, why? What does this mean, right? So if we have to show them example that, hey, it can be done. The group try to also work together with people in the bank as well and bring in new technology. Let's say when we do Chim Chop Chai, we bring in the face comparison between selfie and the Thai National ID. And also we have technology like OCR to read information from Thai National ID that we don't have to type anything, it reads automatically. We learn about cloud technology to be able to handle and scale up for a huge amount of registration coming in. So all those things that we have done, of course we make mistakes along the way, and we have the culture to say, hey, you can learn fast, you can fail fast, and they keep up the opportunity to learn and to fail. My team would be part of that data innovation. We have IT innovation. We have business innovation that come from different background, come from very good university. Some of them are government scholarship, some of them Krung Thai scholarship, some of them come from different company. But we work together in the culture that, hey, we need to get the customer centric. What does a customer want? We cannot just wait 6 months to deliver something. No, we rather deliver something good, quick, and learn along the way, better than wait for something perfect, because they'll never be perfect, and things keep changing. So those are the culture that we are still learning, but we are still trying to show it as example as well. A lot of things that we come out as the government project, we also use internally. Right? What we learned from cloud, from Chim Chop Chai, Log Mai Ting Kan Thai Chana, we build using that to build our mobile app. Now our new mobile next now is cloud native. Still risky because as far as I know, we are the first cloud native, so we're still learning, of course. But it's a good thing that management gives the opportunity and take that chance, right? Not just to build something that we know well on-prem and try to put that on cloud, which is totally different thing. They take a chance to, okay, let's put it on cloud and let's see what happens. But so far, I think that's a key culture buy-in, and it's not about telling people, it's about doing by example. So,
Great. Thank you very much. Kun Panu, in your case, your company, from what we have learned, is already quite advanced in getting cost down and extracting real value from digital. What is the one key success factor you would like to mention that your company mastered successfully in the past?
Yeah, so I will start with Chevron been in industries for more than 100 years. So more than 50 years in Thailand with a number of success stories, right? So one of the key strengths that we actually have with our people, they actually have performance improvement, learn and improve culture that actually embed in organizations. So with that. So that's how actually we move our digital forward. But that become a challenge too, because the way we work in the past actually doing digital, meaning that we're actually using technologies to extract that value. But what we like to be in the future is actually moving from just doing digital to be going digital. Going digital means different. It means that we have to actually embrace a lot of things, new mindset, new cultures, learn and fail, and basically learn and fast forward, right? So with that, what we're focusing on is actually mastering our people. We are focusing on building digital talents by upskilling our people and empowering them to adopt agile mindset, to actually use their new skill set, tool set, in order to solve their business pain point, and which in turn can help strengthen our business performance. And that's how we do it to move the needle moving forward in terms of digital.
Understand. And it sounds like you get a lot done with the people that you already have in the company. And that probably has to be also the case. After all, digital is something that needs to cut across the entire business and is not something you can outsource to a small digital department. That said, getting the right talent, you will need probably all of you some digital experts, whether that's data scientists, whether that is user journey designers. And what we have heard also earlier from Konisara in the keynote speech is they are not easy to attract and they are very much high in demand. Maybe a quick round, who would have something to share how to attract this right talent, given there is so much competition? Anyone who has an opinion on this, who would like to volunteer?
Sorry. We attract quite a few good people on our team, and I find that the like attracts like, meaning one of the draw of our team, in my opinion, is that there's already some density of talent, and I think that the candidates would see that, okay, you can offer perhaps compensation to attract people, but I think having a team that they feel is synchronizing well with the way they're thinking, I think that's one. First, so having a great team, and two, I would say, is that you always have to show them interesting, fun problems to look at, and then you also tell them like, hey, try it out. Don't worry about failing. Just exactly like your philosophy, which is like, you say, hey, we have fun problems, and don't worry if you don't succeed the first time. The point is, failing is part of the process. So just go and try and do it. So the environment and the team is what I think are the key attractions.
Great. And Dr. To, I can only imagine, and maybe I'm using or abusing stereotypes here, but as a state-owned enterprise, this seems difficult, more difficult maybe than in private companies. Did you have to overcome a particularly high hurdle, or how did this work out for your bank?
Actually, let me put into two ways first. The first way, I think similar to Dr. Charlie, I think talent attract talent, meaning that when we talk like data science, data engineer, the good data science, which we Thailand have a lot of them, by the way. When we talk a little bit, not very long, we can sense who know or not know, and are we sharing the same motivation or same hungriness for data knowledge or not. So talent attract talent for sure, and then I think people want someone who understand them, understand the value, not just the buzzword, but value what they can do and cannot do. I think talent attract talent for sure, and culture definitely. If you have a culture, you can learn, you can fail, and you have opportunity to try something new. That would be something that people want to come. One of the reasons I moved to Krung Thai is one of the thing people may say that, hey, Krung Thai are state-owned, may be hard to attract people. But one of the reasons I moved to Krung Thai is because Krung Thai have one thing that I really attract me in, and because I can build a team that we have a lot of good people, very smart people that are government scholarship. That at least in the audience also we have Dr. Pong Sin from Carnegie Mellon, from Bachelor, Master, and PhD. We have a lot of people from NECTEC and also from a lot of university. Krung Thai is one of the place that these smart people, talented people can come and also work and also pay back their scholarship. So that's one of the reasons that I moved to Krung Thai, because that is the advantage that we have a lot of people that I know now also have motivation to help and to learn to contribute. But now they can come and work in the lab environment that can produce something for Thailand or also for Krung Thai, and then also can pay their scholarship back. So at first, if you think in the first place, it may be disadvantage, but think of it this way, I think it's very advantageous to get a lot of good people. We get a lot of people from many other companies as well, another bank, the green one, and those things, that now can come and work with us, and then we can pay the scholarship. And we have a lot of people from MIT, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Carnegie Mellon, and so on. So I think it's a good advantage that we can attract those people, similar purpose, talented, and work together.
Great. Moving.
May I add shortly
Oh, yes,
something?
please.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, I think it's about purpose, because for healthcare business, it's not only about business, but it's also about saving people's life. So some of the talents join my team because they come with a purpose. Probably they would like to save people's life. And some of the digital projects is not only about financial return, but it can also help reducing medical error. It can also about improving clinical outcome, and I think that's something with purpose.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense and resonates actually very well. Moving to a very different kind of challenge that we are all well aware of. For the past 8 months or so, we have been, or many of the industries have been upset quite a bit by the COVID crisis. There are a few companies for which this crisis has actually played out quite positively. The obvious ones are the virtual communication companies, but also e-commerce is doing very well in these times. What I would like to ask you, all of you actually, is what was COVID-19, the effect of COVID-19 on your businesses or on your industry, specifically from a digital angle? Was it an accelerator or a dampener of your digital transformation? Did you have to pause what you had in mind? Did you have to accelerate what you had planned? I would love to hear that from you, and maybe we just go along the line,
Sure.
starting with Dr. Pink again.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we are in the medical tourism business. So for sure, our core business has dampened by the pandemic crisis. But on the contrary, especially during the lockdown period, the telemedicine has been accelerated from the pandemic crisis. Summitivate Virtual Hospital had more than 10 times growth of the active user during the crisis. And we were able to onboard 400 specialists into the platform in only a few weeks. And that's the result of the lockdown period. So we gained new revenue stream from telemedicine and also from healthcare at-home service too. So I would say that there are always two sides to every coin, also in this situation.
Understand. How does that look like in the energy or the oil and gas industry?
Yeah, definitely COVID-19's impact business. But on the other hand, it accelerates digitals if we look at from that angle perspective. So though COVID-19 actually impacted travel because it's restricted, but we still have business to run. We still have offshore facilities to maintain high performance reliabilities, but with limited travel restrictions. So we need to do something different. So what we do is actually leveraging digital technologies enable remote support operations, allowing our engineers or subject matter experts working at home provide consultants or advice to our workforce at offshore locations so that they can still operate at high level and safe operations over there. So we leverage a lot of infrastructures that we already have exist in place by using a 4G LTE network. Then we actually use that IoT, we use wearable cameras, we use HoloLens, allowing our people to talk in real times so that people here can see what people at offshore see and be able to provide them consultations and advice accordingly.
And if I may ask, were you ready for all of that? Were you basically just waiting to pull the plug and move to a virtual operating kind of world? Or did you have to build all of this up in a short period of time and make it happen?
Yeah, we are in a proof of concept period before the pandemic enter. But after pandemic enters, so basically it speed up pretty much everything. So at the same time, we look into pros and cons, and eventually we decide to actually move forward full stream with this, knowing that we have to do it. Otherwise, it's going to impact the performance and safety of people offshore.
That sounds like good timing then,
Yep.
that the proof of concept was already in place. Let us hear from the financial industry, from the banks, and maybe this time we start, for fairness, with Krung Thai. And
We can do in order, that's fine.
no, why did you go?
Okay,
go ahead?
no problem, Kat. So during the COVID-19, actually a lot of work come to Krung Thai, both internal work and also the government work. Let me talk government work and then internal work as well. In the government work, we know that when COVID-19 hit, we know that a lot of people get impact. A lot of people need help in terms of they don't have job and a lot of things are closed, so they lose job. They need money to get support their family and so on. So the government come to us and they have the project called เราไม่ทิ้งกัน So that one first to register people who need help, get all the data that they need, and then process all the payment that will come from all the government, process all that payment to be able to pay to the right people, process all the account information that they have. Those are the first project that we serve the government right away at the beginning of the year. We build a very big digital platform on cloud quickly. We process all those data. We get information, process all the payment, and of course there are many things on social media and all those things. But believe me, I can tell you, people that work on that project work almost 7 days, 24/7, and we don't read social media because we know that we do it for the right purpose. And then after that thing is done, we still have the Thai Chana coming right away afterward. Thai Chana meaning the control disease want to be able to have people scan at different locations so that they can track the impacted area, and if someone that identify as the positive COVID-19, we can in contact people at risk and so on. So we have to design the system from scratch right away. How do we separate the data that the control disease know the data, we only know the ID, and we have to build a cloud system to be able to track each people, register all the shop, and so on. So after that thing is done, then the next thing come right away, the เราเที่ยวด้วยกัน So เราเที่ยวด้วยกัน meaning we have to register all the hotel, all this information, create voucher for restaurant and so on. So our IT, I really respect them. I mean, no rest since the beginning of the year until even เราเที่ยวด้วยกัน I think they extend, and now that we have คนละครึ่งเป็นทีมช็อปใช้ to coming in right away. So in terms of the project that help the government, since the beginning of the year until now, non-stop at all. And of course, along the way, Krung Thai also get something. But more than that, I think people want to work on those projects because we know that COVID-19 does have the impact on people. And those projects, even though we do for Krung Thai, we do for the government, but we also do to these people as well.
Yeah.
ครับ
Yeah. Dr. Charlie, how about your bank?
It's a net positive, I would say. For speaking strictly from the digital point of view,
Yes.
I understand that COVID has caused hardship for many people. But in terms of digital transformation, I think it's a big push. More transactions have moved online than ever. It has already been growing, but COVID definitely pushed the transaction to jump. And it seems to almost, there's some retraction, but not as much. It seems like the people who have experienced there are many people who experienced using app the first time, when many branches were closed for the first time, and transactions are now happening online. The net result of all of that is through their interactions online, we get to know more about them. And now we're also able to use the information back to serve them and help them. For example, in the we're doing a pretty good analysis and predictions about like, oh, people who could be in trouble or may have some impending financial trouble. In such cases, we could go in and offer help to them. So it's been a net positive for the digital work.
Understand. And I can imagine, in a way, COVID forced many of us to learn new digital tricks as consumers, so to say, that now that we have learned them, probably they stick and we have discovered the benefits or the convenience of it, and will continue like that in the future. I would like to shift gears one more time. We heard earlier that the lever of digital ecosystems, basically for companies, the opportunity to collaborate through digital means in a very efficient fashion, is something that Thai companies seem not to have embraced yet to the level that the opportunity would justify. And I would like to learn from you your company's view on such digital ecosystems and what you might try to get out of them, and what that could mean for your own company and possibly even for Thailand as a whole, the economy of Thailand. And maybe, Dr. Charlie, right back to you that question, given that banks, I can imagine, are very much at the center of many of such ecosystems. How do you think about it?
Right. I think there's great potential in the digital ecosystem in Thailand. We've SCB has a range of suites of APIs that allow people to, transfer money, move money from their bank accounts, and so on. And so I would say that those are great. It serves what I would consider to be the utility category. Making it easy and convenient for people to transfer money in and out. But the next stage in the ecosystem is the engagement part, which we're in the process of sort of collaborating and coming up with, for example, with some of the example I gave earlier about like, oh, we should try to be useful along the thought chain. So I think that should be the next phase of the ecosystem, going from utility to building lasting engagement for our customers.
Understand. Staying in the financial industry, what is your KDB's view on this?
Let me answer twofold. The first fold is for the business opportunity first. Second fold is for people of Thailand. First, for the business opportunity, you have the ecosystem that now people are in the ecosystem that you have. Now you can open that up to SME or startup that may not have opportunity to get to this market or to these people before. Give them opportunity to access or sell their product, sell their service to these people that are in the platform. At the same time, you also be able to, if they are active in the platform, you would be able to give them access to the funding and the money that they need, because by getting the data and the feedback when they are belonging or selling on the platform, you would know who are they, how their business is, and how is that review. So we would be able to use this kind of alternative data to give them lending that they may not be able to get before, because in Thailand, a lot of SME doesn't have access to those financial service, because we also need to check their credit bureau and so on. A lot of people doesn't have that, and then they don't have access to that kind of funding, so they have to go into a private sector funding that underground, which have very, very high interest and not very fair to them, but they have to. So in order to create this ecosystem, it can create win-win situation for them as well. They can come in, they can sell and have opportunity to sell their service and product. At the same time, their behavior can get them right into the funding that they need. But ecosystem, in my opinion, another one is that can benefit Thailand and Thai people would be, previously when government want to help someone, government may send money in there, but the transparency may not be for Thai people, so we don't know actually if that money get to the right person or not. By having the platform ecosystem that we have right now in the wallet, we know exactly the transparency that every baht that Thai government give go to the right wallet, and then they can track, they can audit. Not that we can keep cash and then get distributed. That may go along the way. By having the ecosystem, you can have transparency. People who need help, the government say they pay 500 baht. That 500 baht have to go into that wallet, and then we can track if it happened or not. So that definitely benefit Thai people, I do believe.
Great. In the oil and gas industry, are there opportunities for digital ecosystems? Again, it's probably a bit more difficult to imagine, but I would be very curious to hear from you.
Yeah, in oil and gas, digital ecosystem is actually a means to change the way we operate, typically in the industries. So it transforms from competitions to be more toward collaborations. So as you might be aware, recently we announced strategic partnership between Schlumberger, Microsoft, and Chevron to progress on what we call the open data subsurface of universe, allowing all operators within industries to share non-confidential information in the platform. And with that safe and secure environments, inviting or encouraging all to actually come and work together, collaborate, co-develop digital solutions that eventually can help benefit the whole industries.
So in a way, you're pooling the data and get a scale effect out of everybody contributing without sharing something that would be confidential, and then you all can get the benefit out of that scale that you now have in the data. Dr. Peng, that sounds like something I could imagine in the healthcare industry. If I think about patient data, if all my healthcare providers, let's say I'm from Germany, if I go to a hospital in Germany and afterwards back to Thailand and go to both hospitals, of course, ideally they both would have access to the same data, my data, in order to deliver the best possible services. Is this something that, similarly to Chevron, you are also thinking about and how to form data ecosystems?
Yes, data ecosystem is one thing that we are working on it, but it's really important to keep the data confidential, to keep the high level of security, because health data is very, very sensitive. So in order to do that, we probably need some de-identification process to put the data in the very safe place. But currently, that's the future project. But currently, we also focus on collaboration and partnership. We collaborate with other industry, real estate, banking, business, construction. One of the good example is the mobile application Summitiwet Plus that I mentioned earlier. Actually, this is a project that we collaborate with the SCB. We believe that for innovation, partnership is better than purchase. So we partner with SCB to develop this application, and that help shorten the process of developing the application and cutting the cost of developing the application too. Yes.
Understand. Great. So there seems to be still hope for the digital ecosystem. It is in fact something that seems to be in that inflection curve that we have seen, one of those that in the strategy it's already represented, but not yet operationalized, and that is maybe not timeline-wise the first priority, but it is on the screen. Very good. For the last question now, we want to try something slightly differently. We would like to ask, in the context that so many of the Thai companies that we have surveyed have a very strong ambition and would like to achieve so much from literacy to leadership in digital terms within only 3 years, it means a lot of work is ahead of companies. And I'm pretty sure from all I've heard from you today, there's a lot of work that you still see ahead of your companies as well. Could you take a piece of paper and a pen that we have prepared here and just note down quietly, each of you, some 3 to 5 keywords that best describe your digital priorities, the topics you want to work on, that you want to address over the next 3 years. I would like you to put it on paper, and then afterwards we just read them out one after the other, and we will see if there are overlaps or if it is quite specific by company, by industry. Let us do this exercise. Please take a piece of paper and a pen.
เชิญก่อนเลยครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
อ๋อขอบคุณครับขอบคุณครับเชิญเลยครับ
ครับ
เอาเชิญเลยครับ
เชิญเลยครับ
ขอบคุณครับ
Okay, we are finished. Maybe we start from the end and move this way. Could you please start and so read it out?
So I have three bullets นะครับ the first bullet I think we start with people and culture we need in order to get the right digital transformation in there going to the future you need to have people with the right skill right mindset have the right culture that people work together sharing the same goal with purpose so that's number one I think I put people before technology because I think you need to have the right people. You can have technology without good people, you would not go far. Second one, I think you have to have mindset about how to use data and know what machine learning AI can and cannot do, right? Because not just can but cannot do, because a lot of time if you don't understand that, you may try to draw something imagination you cannot do, and team will never be able to achieve. And the last one. I still believe that the cloud technology and API would be something that we need to make sure we understand and utilize them well. ครับ
Great. Thank you very much. Dr. Charlie.
Mine is experiment, engagement, and talent. It's quite similar, actually, the talent part. So the experiment part is basically it's a mindset. I would say that as is true for most technology or digital projects, you just don't know what's right. So you just try. And you just feel like, okay, we have no shame if something doesn't work. It's part of the process. So you just have to keep experimenting. Engagement, as we have said earlier, we want to be more than just a transactional bank. We just want to be a place where people think about it earlier in their thought chain, and we hope to become useful in multiple stages in their life. Talent, it's you need you cannot have enough of them. I just want to have more talent and bring them in and have a lot of positive, fun projects for them.
So engagement also, I understand, then means in a way understanding the needs of our customers
Exactly.
at the next level of
And the next level,
insight.
and you think one step ahead.
Very good, understood. Kun Panu.
I got 3 years. So I'll start with the first one, similar to the doctors here, digital talents, the first one here. So as I mentioned earlier, our key strengths is actually our people, because they know the best. They know the best what they're doing today. They own all the workflow. They understand how to get it work, how to get it done. But this time, they need to understand more how to get it done differently through use of digitals. To do so, they need to be equipped with the new digital fluencies, and that becomes digital talents. And the second one, as I mentioned earlier, about digital platform ecosystem. So we need to shift the way we operate, particularly in oil and gas, more toward partnership collaborations. And with that, if we don't have a good platform allowing people to share data, allowing people to actually collaborate, we cannot come that far. And last but not least, when we get data available, we need to now using advanced technologies like machine learning or AI, because we come to this point because we actually using human natures to actually interact with data and learn from the data. Now, when we get more data available on the platform, we need to do something different. We need advanced technologies to help us attract more insight in order to improve our business performance.
Great. Thank you very much. Dr. Pink.
Yes. For me,
With icons, very nice.
yes, it's AI and data, telehealth, and digital culture. I believe that we are entering the AI-enabled health era, and you cannot execute good AI strategy without the good data strategy, data management strategy. And with the arrival of 5G technology, I think telehealth will grow sharply, and we will see more and more interesting use cases of telehealth. And last but not least, innovation. I think to be excellent in digital transformation, innovation needs to be part of our corporate culture.
Great. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing these thoughts. I think these are very relevant probably for all the audience as well, for the companies that are listening to us speaking here. I at least have learned a lot, I would say, and it's very interesting to see that there are differences between the industries of what is in focus, but there is definitely also one very strong parallel, which is culture and talent, that all of you have highlighted. And I think throughout the discussion that has actually come across how that sits at the center of everything. Without the right people and without the right spirit of going about digital, I heard a lot that sounded like it's still a learning journey. A lot needs to be figured out on the way, how to do it right in order really to get to impact. That is something that is common to the journeys that all your companies are on. We have one last question here from the audience that I can actually use very well as the closing statement, building on what I have learned from you earlier today. The question is, could you please explain how to start with digital transformation in an organization? And I would say that from what I've heard here and what also is probably at the core of our thinking as BCG is it all starts with a strong strategy, with a combined strategy of business and digital. What is it actually that you want to achieve? And it was came up several times in the discussion earlier. What is it that you want from a business point of view to achieve with digital or through digital? When you are thinking about that, you need to think also holistically. Is it just cutting cost? That's actually very valuable already, but isn't there something on the revenue as well? Is there something to increase your current top line? Or is there even something to access completely new revenue streams? All of this you should test before finalizing your digital strategy or your combined business and digital strategy. And then what is very much required is building the enablers to make the strategy happen. We learned about it and talked about it. The right culture, the right talent, the right people, the right way of working together. But that's not all. It's also as boring as cleaning the data, as we have learned, and as building the IT architecture that can run all of these things. So when starting with the digital transformation, having all these different aspects at the same time in mind when planning the roadmap forwards, creating some good impact early on in order to keep the organization motivated and to show them that this actually works and will lead us somewhere, that is all important. And you might recall from the keynote speech, we call that the bionic company that manages to be strong on all these different dimensions: the culture, the ways of working, the people, but also the strategy, the use cases they are selecting. And achieving that happens in maturity stages. Nobody goes from zero to hero, but you go through literacy, performer, and then eventually being a digital leader. Again, thank you so much to the panelists for sharing these insights today. Thank you very much, TMA, to have us here today. It was a pleasure, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Kap.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fingerle, for conducting a very insightful session as well as wrapping up the entire digital transformation journey wonderfully. และขอขอบคุณนะครับดร.ทิติการรุจิพัฒนกุลนะครับจากบริษัทสมิติเวชจำกัดมหาชนแชมเปี้ยนทางด้าน Business Model Innovation นะครับคุณพานุบุญวัฒโนภาสนะครับจากบริษัทเชฟรอนประเทศไทยสำรวจและผลิตจำกัดแชมเปี้ยนทางด้าน Optimize Operations นะครับคุณชาลีอัศวะธีรธรรมจากธนาคารไทยพาณิชย์จำกัดมหาชนแชมเปี้ยนทางด้าน Culture and Talent นะครับและท่านสุดท้ายนะครับดร.ธีรวัฒน์อัศวะโภคีนะครับจากธนาคารกรุงไทยแชมเปี้ยนทางด้าน Technological Innovation และ AI ครับครับผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านครับงาน TMA Digital Transformation Forum และ Excellence Award 2020 ภายใต้หัวข้อ Building Sustainable Supply Chain for the Future โค งเสร็จสิ้นเพียงเท่านี้นะครับแต่ก่อนที่จะจากกันในวันนี้นะครับขอรบกวนผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านร่วมทำแบบประเมินความพึงพอใจโดยคลิกที่ปุ่ม questionnaire ใต้หน้าต่างไลฟ์นะครับเพื่อจะนำข้อมูลทุกท่านนะครับไปปรับปรุงและพัฒนาการจัดสัมมนาในครั้งต่อไปครับและทั้งนี้นะครับทาง TMA ต้องขอขอบคุณ Strategic Partners คนสำคัญของเรานะครับซึ่งได้แก่สำนักงานส่งเสริมเศรษฐกิจดิจิทัลนะครับหรือ DEPA และที่ขาดไม่ได้นะครับขอขอบคุณ Knowledge Partner นะครับ The Boston Consulting Group นะครับที่ให้เกียรติสละเวลาแล้วก็เอื้อเฟื้อโมเดล DAI ที่ช่วยในเรื่องของการประเมินหาแชมเปี้ยนทางด้านดิจิทัลของเราในปีนี้นะครับและขอขอบพระคุณผู้ร่วมสนับสนุนหลักในการจัดงานนะครับซึ่งประกอบไปด้วยธนาคารกรุงเทพจำกัดมหาชนบริษัทเบทาโกรจำกัดมหาชนธนาคารกสิกรไทยจำกัดมหาชนธนาคารไทยพาณิชย์จำกัดมหาชนบริษัทไทยเบเวอเรจจำกัดมหาชนบริษัทไทยออยล์จำกัดมหาชนและสุดท้ายนี้ TMA หวังเป็นอย่างยิ่งว่าจะได้มีโอกาสจัดงานดีๆที่เป็นประโยชน์ต่อทุกท่านอีกในอนาคตอันต่อไปครับสำหรับวันนี้ขอลาทุกท่านขอบคุณและสวัสดีครับ